after that, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well, I mean, brother, I think we're all in the same boat with that whole Windows thing. I have probably a 12 to 13-year-old Acer desktop I've had since I separated the military. Well, I mean, it's much older than that now. It's probably making them more like 20. But then I decided to build a new machine because I was like, I needed something that can handle everything that's going on. Because I still play games, but the games I play aren't crazy high intense stuff. I do enough video editing too, though. I needed something that could keep up with that. So that's the whole reason I even upgraded. And then I turned around and decided to take almost every hard drive I have and slap them in this machine. So it's kind of a huge server at this point. So it makes me pretty happy. But, I mean, and I'm glad Megamus finally got him a Mac. So I know that was
Working fine.
and I'm glad. It makes me so happy for you. And hopefully we can figure out, maybe Don can probably get a good deal on another laptop or something here in the future.
Well, see, the thing is, I don't want. I like a desktop.
Mm-hmm.
I like the expanded keyboard and the bigger screen because it's like, sure, I can add another monitor. I can probably use my old monitor and get an expanded keyboard. Then I have a desktop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, oh, I don't know. That's future Don's worry.
That's okay though. That's okay. We're all here to support. Looks like we have Sideburn here. I'm not really sure if he's actually going to be here or not. He says he's a little busy.
Right.
Looks like he's trying to get his stuff working. Uh-oh. He's not chasing red cars again.
And I just got home.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Sorry.
I saw
I'm
you
sorry.
guys-
I was. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to be. I was listing something on eBay. I'm selling my New Jersey Comic Con Nemesis Optimus. I decided to go ahead and sell it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just.
You didn't want to open Pandora's box?
No. I made a mistake, and I'm just decided to go ahead and sell it.
So, welcome everybody to our next episode of the Plasticast. I'm here joined by everybody again, which is great. This is the main crew. But today we're going to be talking about a couple little things. I kind of find one of these extremely weird and strange, and personally, I just think this is an art project type of thing. When I'm talking about art, I'm not talking about actual humans making art. I'm talking about computers making art. And I'm referring to these Transformer AI statues that are going to be sold. I know Don probably has a little more information than I do, but from what I've seen of the videos of every one of these, it looks like they took basically the last pose of whatever the video was and turned it into an actual statue. I'm going to go ahead and bring up, I've got Megatron here real quick, so we'll go ahead and bring him up so that way we can show you guys what he looks like. And from what I've seen, looking up close and personal with these, yeah, they're kind of mushy. If you actually really look at the high-res pictures of these guys, they were very, very mushy. And I'll be honest with you, it looks like kind of cheap 3D printing to me, done with like resin. I don't know how big these are supposed to be. But Don, do you remember how much they were pricing these things at?
3,800. Let me double check that.
Okay. But
so y'all talk about it. Let me look.
But as for the weird stuff that's on him, it's basically supposed to be like an image from a comic, kind of just slapped on him, which is an interesting choice. But
that's the one thing I like is the kind of the comic look, the lettering, I kind of like that. It adds a little bit of something, like they just stepped out of the comic and took their speech bubble or the page with them as like a wraparound, and I think that's a very unique look. It's the only thing I like about these.
I
But yes, each statue is limited to. This is compliments of TFW at 2005. Credit where credit's due. Each statue is limited to 500 units worldwide and are at $3,800 a piece.
Yeah.
That's 3800 before the decimal point.
mhm.
Oh, just
So listen, this isn't including shipping. This is probably not including taxes or including import
or
fees.
tariffs.
I'm just going to put import fees, not just tariffs, because import fees pretty much covers the globe.
Right.
But yeah, I think, I'll be honest with you, I'm not impressed with these. I think they're lazy, to be honest. It's an art project. That's what I see.
Yeah, these are something special. I mean, so I'm looking at the Starscream one, and like, I think the concept of like the page tampoed onto it. Like if they released a transforming Starscream where in jet mode the top of the jet had like the comic tampos on it, and then it transformed, and this was the result of it. That might be a kind of cool like SDCC, collector piece or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is just like, I mean, the model itself kind of terrible, and then the execution of the comic book stuff is kind of haphazard. And I feel like it could have been cool, but it's not necessarily executed well.
This is something I would like to see. Like, do y'all remember a couple years ago, Pop Culture Shock, Collectibles, the ones you saw in the GameStop, the Optimus, the Grimlock, the Bumblebee, just the vinyl statuettes that ran about $30-$40 a piece. If they did something like that with this comic lettering, I'd be really tempted for something like that, because I just think it's a really, again, like they just sort of stepped off the page and they brought the page with them.
Well, those vinyl things that they did back then reminded me of Sabobi. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I think that would be a better thing to do than what they're trying to do here. I agree with you on that 100%.
$3,800 for this.
And the thing
How
is,
tall are these supposed to be?
Yeah, how big are these? Do you remember?
Let me see if I can.
35 centimeters.
Hang on,
So
that's what it says on the page. That's a good sized statue, but frick,
Yeah.
I mean, hold on a second. I'm gonna take the chance of doing this just to sort of prove a point.
Sideburn proving points. This is kind of scary.
I only spent $1,300 on this.
So
right?
that's a real lizard, right?
Those are $3,800.
So you bought two. You bought what? Two? What? I don't see anything. What am I missing? There we are. You bought Dancing Pong.
He bought a Godzilla for that.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it in perspective for me. If you go to sideshow.com, where Sideshow Collectibles is at, and you pull up the large Tiamat statue that has the it's from the animated series. That was less. That was about 3 of those Transformer statues.
Yeah.
That was $1,300 for that Tiamat statue.
Yeah.
I had to Donomics the hell out of it, but I did it.
Now, this is where it gets weird. Soundwave apparently looks like he's got Megatron's arm.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Like this makes.
Well, I think it's just that that particular pose or that particular angle of it, because other angles the gun he's holding doesn't connect all the way back.
No, it's really strange. Like it's like he's got a.
But I don't know what that cylinder on. I have no idea what that cylinder on the top of his arm is supposed to be.
Well, I mean, and this right here kind of really shows you like how in depth this really is. Look how mushy this looks. This looks like somebody bought a random transformer, glued pieces together, much like some customizers I've seen, and literally just spray paint canned the crap out of it to the point that the paint was so muddied that you see no detail. Do you guys see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
I mean, like some limited edition. Yeah, if these were like limited edition Sofubis, like you were saying, and let's say they're just like maybe $300, I wouldn't personally be biting on it, but they would seem reasonable and they would kind of fit that look of sort of, if you've ever seen like a Sofubi like Godzilla figure, it doesn't look perfect or highly detailed, and sometimes even that the details are incorrect on it, right?
Well, they've had Sofobi Transformers before. Like back in Generation 1, there are a few, very, very, very few. They're hard to get because they're mainly Japanese only, but they did a Galvatron and a Hot Rod, I believe.
And they also do an RC as well?
I think they did. You may be right about that one, Don. I do know they did a Galvatron and Hot Rod. But the design of these being done by a computer, okay, cool. I mean, I've messed with AI stuff myself. I do a lot of that, but I tend to really hone in on what I'm doing before I use it. And this, it's just questionable.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm going to say,
yeah,
I'm just going to say, if you're putting forth a boutique style item and you're asking this much money for a very low run product, you need a better pitch than this. Cause this, I'm not the market for this kind of thing, but a good pitch for any presentation, any product line should get people who aren't your target audience interested in buying it, at least to think about it. And if your pitch does not get someone who you're not targeting to at least think about it, you're killing your reach of your pitch, which is the worst thing you can do in marketing.
I agree 100%. So, I know Brett really hasn't said much. He's probably thinking this is complete garbage. What do you think, dude?
These are the greatest things in the world I'm buying too.
Oh, the sarcasm is so thick you can cut it with a knife.
Yeah.
Captain, I'm detecting in that sarcasm.
Just beautiful works of art.
I mean,
I don't need to make a couple house payments. I can buy one of these.
I mean, if you guys are in the market for it, you got the money. I mean, if you went and did your little scratch off or, won your little state lottery, have at it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I'm going to use a term that I've only recently, in the past year, become familiar with. It's called bougie. Because apparently my niece is bougie, and my wife had to explain that to me. These seem very bougie.
Yes.
See, I'm glad that you tried to define the word bougie, because for a minute there I thought you meant crap. But
Yeah,
It's
I
just
learned a new word. Bougie.
yeah. This is called bougie. When you're spending insane amount of price, like I don't know, like back when they did what was it, the I think it was Nike. They did the Megatron shoes, and all it came
yeah.
with, yeah, it was, they were cool looking shoes, but all it came with was like a little plastic football, and that's it. That's bougie. Like you got money to spend on that kind of thing just to sit on a shelf that you probably are never going to wear. You can wear them, but you
Well,
don't want to because you don't want to ruin them. That's bougie
yeah.
to me.
See, I've never understood shoe collectors, but I'm sure shoe collectors don't understand us either. So I'm sure that's a lot of give and take on collect what you
And
like. There is
there
there is
weren't
no
enough
right or
transforming shoes for us to understand each other.
Yeah.
You know.
But I'm talking the non-transforming ones, the ones you're supposed to wear
yeah.
that are
Yeah.
expensive that you just buy to stick. And the other thing I say, kind of bougie. Remember when they decided to do that version of Optimus Prime that had Supreme thrown on it, the red one?
Yeah.
That's just to advertise a clothing brand, just like
Not
Bait.
even a clothing
But-
brand, really. Like it's a
Yeah.
they buy Hanes T-shirts and they print the Supreme logo on it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. There is kind of a precedent set with Optimus getting those kind of treatments because of the Bape line.
Yeah,
So
there's been a lot of those.
so it's not really unheard of to get a. I mean, technically, if you look at it, Pepsi Prime was kind of the first one of these things.
Was it Pepsi or
So
Coca-Cola Prime? Which one was the
Pe-
first one?
Pepsi,
Okay.
Pepsi. The Coke one. Okay, I'm sure. I'm sure I'll be called. Certain people in our family will probably catch me on this. I think the Coke one was a regular Optimus, but there was a Coke sticker included in the package
Yes.
that you could add to the figure. It wasn't actually on the Optimus like the Pepsi Optimus with the modified trailer to hold the 2 liter.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
one are we talking
yeah. There
The
was
Coca-Cola Optimus Prime.
You're talking about the newer one.
no the vintage.
Now I'm talking about the original one.
There's a Pepsi Prime.
Yeah.
Okay, they did a Pepsi Prime, and the sticker was actually on the package. It wasn't on the
Right,
thing.
right. But the Coke one was a regular Optimus, and the sticker was inside the package, so you had to apply it yourself, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know of any Coca-Cola Prime.
I thought there was one.
Mm-mm.
Or maybe I'm wrong about that one.
Back in the 80s?
Hmm?
No.
Hmm.
Not that I know of. There was a Pepsi
Interesting.
Prime, and it had a little thing of stickers that were on the side, and the only difference between that and Canada is the Canadian one had a huge sticker that went all the way across the trailer. And then later on, they started doing, this was after the newer Pepsi one you're talking about. They did Coca-Cola, they did Jack Daniels, they did all sorts of stuff, but I don't know of any of that in the 80s.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you for
Just,
correcting us on that. Because I wasn't sure.
yeah. I'm going to chalk that up to a Bernstein Bears moment.
Oh, I'm just,
Yeah, stupid Mandela
I know that-
effect.
like I'm still trying to find a Canadian Pepsi Prime. Those are, and they weren't any more. I know this is a little side. It'll only take a second.
It's okay.
There weren't any less or more of those than there were of the U.S. ones, but everyone wants it because of the bigger sticker. So they're in more demand. So they're just harder to find.
Kind of makes me wonder why Toy Hacks probably hasn't done something like that, because they've done a lot of.
They have.
Okay.
They have. There's repos out the butt of all that stuff.
Okay.
And then the newer Pepsi one, the one with the trailer where you could put it's not a 2 liter, but the 32 ounce, whatever, on it. That was, that actually came around, and BotCon had a bunch of those. and I think they gave them away, and it was like kind of a promotional type thing.
Was that like
That-
06 or 07?
Oh my gosh, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
It
I
was a
know the
while ago.
Prime itself actually had the Pepsi swoosh like painted into the cab. Deck
Yeah,
too.
instead of on the shoulders, instead of the Autobot symbols, they had the little, what is that? It's not a Pepsi swoosh. Whatever it is, their
Well,
emblem,
Yeah, it was
their
pretty,
logo.
it was definitely pretty cool. I did like that one. It's one I didn't ever buy. That's one I probably should have back when I was collecting G1 Primes. I did not get that one.
It was a neat idea because what do you do with a trailer? Hey, just put a thing of Pepsi on it. All right.
Well, it's kind of
Pretty
cool
good
because you can actually put like 3 Pepsi cans standing upright on it too, not just a 32-ounce bottle.
I just remember the big long 32 or whatever
Yeah,
to make it look more like an oil tanker type.
right.
You
It's
know,
nice.
I would have. Looking back, I would love to have seen like a translucent version of that when Crystal Pepsi was out.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that would have been neat.
That's what I need to do is find one of those, find just the trailer, and I don't know, 3D scan it or whatever, and make a freaking translucent version of that trailer. Because I know there's a knockoff blue translucent cab out there somewhere, and just make my own. That'd be cool.
Well, see, I got a good idea. What you do is you go and you 3D print that, okay, and then put it out on the internet and put it out for $3,500, and someone's going to buy it.
Oh yeah, easily. Because people
That's
are
my
going to want it.
that's my sarcasm again, going back on the topic, but that's beside the point.
But anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on AI designing whatever's been made before, like Transformers wise and all that? What do you guys think of that overall?
I mean, I feel like at some point, because if you separate out using it as a tool to accomplish things, and then using it as just the source of the thing, like there's ways that you can sort of toe a line. I don't really want to see a lot of it. Like I don't like. I would prefer that they not start using it for. I imagine we've probably already have some of it used in box art, and we just haven't noticed it yet.
Look
Um,
at some of the GI Joe Classified, the retro stuff. It's very iffy on the edge for me, anyway.
yeah. I'm not like gung ho for or against it. To be honest with you, I work in the tech field. I don't have any personal like musings with it. I've used like a few. I've used something like Copilot because I'm a software engineer, and I've used some like auto generative stuff, but I've not loved anything that I've used it for. The best thing it's been for is generating really annoying script files. It can do those pretty well. Those are annoying to write, and usually they're just for personal use. But other than that, like I would prefer that. And I think, especially in the case of something like this, a human being designing it is going to result in something better. And like I don't. It's very bold of them to launch not one statue but 4 statues like this at this price point. In this style, because like I pre-ordered an Optimus Primal statue some like 2 years ago, and it got canceled because it didn't get enough pre-orders, and it was it wasn't even a tenth the price of this thing. So I'd be so surprised if all these sell out, but if you never know.
I mean, how much, like, when it comes to statues, like retail sell, I'm not talking about like aftermarket and all that. What was the most expensive Transformer statue that you remember?
Probably
Prime one
some of
has
those.
some really
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, I think Bobby Skullface has one or two of them, and they were pushing 15 to 17, I think. But I think I've seen them higher.
Yes, Prime One puts out some statues that are in the upwards of like $3,000 range, but I don't know if Transformers has never necessarily ever hit that price point.
Hmm.
Um,
I was always just kind of curious because I never really jumped into the statue scene because I don't know, like if I decide to buy anything that's like a statue or something like that, it's usually like a figurine or something that's small. I never got into like the large, huge ones because I mean, you
I have
kind of need to have a place of real estate in
Yeah.
your home to hold that.
sure.
I wanted to get I wanted to get some of the because they did the like Optimus Primal and they did a Megatron and I think they did a Dinobot. Did they do a Dinobot? I think they did. But they at least did an Optimus Primal and a Megatron, and they were like really big statues, and I thought they would be really cool, sort of like centerpieces of my Beast Wars collection. But those things are super expensive. They were at the time, and you had to buy them secondhand now.
I mean, I have a few. Probably the biggest one I have is I have the G1 Prime, the G1 Megatron, both fighting on top of a chessboard, which was probably mid 90s, maybe 2000.
Yeah.
And it takes up like the whole top of a DTOF.
I think
It's huge.
and like I know some people have gotten the Matrix as a statue. I think some people have that
Oh
because
yeah, I have
for the
that too.
longest
I
time
never
most people
considered it
didn't.
a statue,
Yeah,
but yeah, it is.
and wasn't there a Unicron statue as well?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have that too.
hard.
That was a
Yeah, the
Botcon
hard
one.
hero.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wish I got that back in the day.
How much did that
that
thing
was a weird
retail
one.
for back then?
Well, they were like over 100. Given inflation would be a lot more. But the funny thing is they didn't sell, and they sat and they sat, and at one point they they were either sold cheaper at one of the Bacons or something or other, whatever, and it became associated with that. I don't think that they were made specifically for that, but they were kind of associated with it. And then they've kind of gone up in value. And I think the main reason is because it's a really nice looking statue. But when Hasbro brought out the Unicron, I mean, oh my gosh, that's so much bigger, so much nice. But then you have those people like me that go, where are you going to put it? It's just too big. So this is a nicer alternative. But I mean, as someone that I probably have 10 statues, I get that. I would never pay $3,000 for one, but that's me. I just don't see the value there.
I
And
mean,
yes, they take up a lot of space.
the thing is, when I see people buy statues like this, I personally think there's somebody that has an office space. Say they're, a lawyer or whatever, and they have room in their nice office, and they have like a corner or something like that. They want to put a piece of their childhood in there. Something
But they
nice,
but
but
they don't want to look too geeky to have a toy there. Gotcha.
right, and that's kind of how I can see those type of people doing that. But for like the average collector, a lot of us, no, I don't. I mean, I saw those like the Soundwave and Devastator busts, that were
Hmm.
cool, but they didn't exactly
Oh,
fly off the shelves. A lot of people I know don't really tend to collect those
I
that
think
much.
it was Hard Heroes that did
Yeah, the
the the
Unicron thing.
the 18-inch Devastator,
Mhm.
and I always wanted that one. It was such a good looking statue. I
Is
never
that the
got.
one where he's like? Is that the one where he's like bending the girder?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's it.
they
It's
have,
beautiful statue.
didn't they?
Um, I picked up the Grimlock in Dyno mode, and it's because I got it dirt cheap, but still, it's a beautiful statue.
Mhm.
I mean, they really are. And that one's not too big. That one's probably about the size of a poster, so it's not huge, but very nicely done. So, I mean, I get, talking about this particular statue, the looks of it to me, I have no interest in. The price, I definitely have no interest in. But, I mean, $3,000 statues, people buy them, sure. Just not me.
It's like we said, and how Don said, bougie. That's what this is. It's kind of a fashion statement.
Yeah, bougie, boutique.
Yeah.
Do you remember those? I sort of had a flashback talking about all these like old statues and stuff. Do you remember those pewter Beast Wars, the metal monuments Beast Wars statues?
Vaguely.
They like hung around forever. I just had a flashback to those things. So I was over here looking them up. They were god awful. They're really ugly, but I just had a flashback to those being a thing back in like the early 2000s when I was really starting collecting.
Well, that's also my question. Is like when it comes to statues, I mean, do these things actually hold their value? Like, or does the value just tank on some of these?
Well, some do. It's all about, with everything else, supply and demand. How many did they make? How many people out there want them?
Because I know statues is kind of a niche collector market. It's not a
Well, I will say one thing, and this goes with toys, comics, statues, everything. And I'll even lump it in. Like artist proofs, limited runs, collector's edition. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't mean anything.
yeah.
I mean, like you get a comic and it says this is the collector's edition. It's probably not going to be worth anything.
Yeah. Me, the statues kind of remind me of ball cards. Now, I was never much into baseball cards and stuff. My father was there for a while. It seems like
Not that.
for statues and stuff, either it's brand new and hard to get, or really old and hard to get. It's that whole middle ground that it just seems to fall into a pit.
Yeah, but it all comes back to desire. If there's a desire for it, it's going to be worth something.
Agnes, that wasn't the one you're looking for?
No, this one was a full size. Let me find it.
Okay,
Maybe it
I
could have
thought
been Palisades. Could have been Palisades.
Yeah.
okay, because that's the only one. Because there was one on my watch list for like $45, but they wanted like 30 shipping, and I really didn't want it that bad.
I mean,
No,
So I
that
thought
one.
that's.
This one was more of a.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was.
Oh, here it is.
Palisades.
It's Palisades, and there's one in here right now, $600. It's just, to me, it was just a beautiful looking statue. If you type in, look up G1 Palisades Devastator, it should pop up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was a gorgeous statue, but at the time, I think it was like $200 or $300, and I was just like, no. And that's before we got all the newer combiners, bigger and everything. This would have been, at the time, this was probably the biggest representation of Devastator we had at the time.
Huh. Well, hello there, Proto Man. Is he there? Yeah.
I'll be with you guys in a moment, just figuring out the settings on this stupidity.
Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh! Flashback.
One sec. I'm just because you guys are doing this through Discord. I apologize for interrupting. I'll figure this out in a moment. I'll be back.
No biggie. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about, Brett, because I remember it's like Devastator ripping open the doors to get into Autobot City.
It
And
just,
then it has like,
honestly, if you just want to do a screenshot real quick, just jump on eBay and type in Transformers Palisades Devastator, and it'll pop up.
Okay.
The aesthetics of it, I thought were just brilliant. It looked really good. Proportions were good, and I thought it was like, it says over 12 inches, so it was You know, probably 13-inch statue. And like I said, at the time, all we had was G1, little bitty boy. So
How the heck do I spell Palisades? I'm horrible.
Yeah,
Posted it in the, I posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you. Let me grab that.
I'm sure it's.
So yeah, they were the company that did those old RC statues.
Yes. Yes.
All right, let's
With
see.
a face.
With a
Right.
face.
Let's
There
see
it
what
is.
this
Oh yeah, I see
Yes,
what you're getting at.
just a gorgeous statue. But like I said, back then it was even $250, $300.
yeah.
Huh. Interesting. But yeah, like
Statues have always been a weird collector point for me. Just because some of them are obviously really really cool, but it's just like justifying the price is usually really hard,
Mhm.
and then if you spend all your time trying to justify the price, and then you decide after you can't find any more that you would have really liked to have it, and then you go look it up, and it's something that's now $600. You know.
Well, right, just like this one, exactly. Yeah. For me, I would love to have it. I'd make a spot for it, even though I have. Oh my God, what we got the Titans one, we got this new one, I got more Devastators than I know what to do with. I wouldn't mind making a spot for this, but I'm not paying $600.
no,
So.
and I don't blame you. I mean, it's the price is kind of crazy on this, but yeah, I had no idea some of these actually went up in value like this because
some do. Well, also remember the other neat thing about statues is they break. They break,
Yeah.
so there's less.
Anything that likes to break a lot eventually starts to find its way.
Gold plastic.
It's like natural gold plastic, except for either made of resin or some type
Oh
of
no, they're
something.
made really well. It's just people are really clumsy. They break them.
I mean, my thing is like if you're somebody that has to move a lot, buying statues is kind of not a thing you probably should get into. But
probably not a good idea.
We see a random Proto Man.
Yo.
How's it going, man?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Just trying to make sure this all works. How are we all doing? Good. Sorry to interrupt.
We're talking about the AI thing that they did with the statues. What's your take on statues overall, dude?
Well, I had a friend who was really into sideshow collectible statues, and that was like, you have to understand, he wasn't like an action figure guy. He was a comic book guy, and that was always his jam. And his logic was, I always want to have the best looking 3D iteration of those characters. And I'll give it to him there. Like, if you really like Rogue from the X-Men, right? I have to say, probably a sideshow collectible statue that isn't articulate is probably about as good as it's going to get. I mean, the moment you have to deal with a 6-inch figure from Marvel Legends that has, cut points, and I mean, let's be real, Hasbro is sometimes also scared to, make the soccer moms feel bad about themselves. So the bustier is a little smaller, and they don't want to make her look as sexy. Where a sideshow statue, there's a tongue twister, will always be a little more, a little more Jim Lee, a little more of that era of what you're trying to celebrate. So I understand the side of it, but I mean, if you're talking Transformers, where, I mean, half the story is the puzzle play, and then already like, let me just reach off camera here, and there goes the headset. Like these guys, the only reason why I have this guy mint in box, because I bought him at a clearance place for $5 Canadian. Never bought any of these RED Transformers because, and no surprise, that line died a slow death because that hobby, Transformers, you need the puzzle play element. You got to have it. And go ahead, Don. Sorry, and nice to see you again, Don.
Yeah, I see you too, man. And not just that; it's just also the fact is, if it's sort of like increments. Like mainline, if it looks pretty close to what the character should look like Studio Series, you can forgo some bits and pieces not being exactly right. When you get to stuff like the yellow part, you don't deal with the transformation, so you have a much more accurate budget going to make the figure look closer to what it's supposed to be, although
Well,
because you lose the transformation. So you
and
have
not to
one less
mention,
thing you have.
Don, when you get into stuff like YOLO Park, like there's, I mean, this goes like all the way back to 2001, which was, there was a line called SCF PVC. You were around during that time, so was I. I have a whole wall of those up there that are off camera. Back then, it was like, how do we get the best iterations of those characters with the technology of 2001? And we had these little 3-point of articulation PVC figures. And then you fast forward a little bit, and in 2006, we got the Classics line. And while they weren't accurate to the Generation 1 iterations, it gave an interpretation of those characters. As you move along, there's only so many ways you could sell the consumer a Generation 1 Optimus Prime. And that's when it does open up to YOLO Park and Blockies and all these other brands, which are licensed companies, by the way. So it isn't even Hasbro's responsibility. It's just Hasbro going, hey, this company wants to give us X amount of money to license our product, and Hasbro's all for it. That goes into Funko, that goes into Super 7, that goes into every bath towel you ever see at Walmart. Like, that's just kind of the name of the game.
Free money without
you say
risk.
sorry?
Free money without the risk, other than you hope they don't make your product look bad by having
which
a bad
is
product.
Which is something that I do for many years, is creative consulting for those licensors, like Symbiote Studios. Every plush that they do has to go by me. When they did the Transformers TCG, every trading card that had to be done had to go through me. If the Decepticon emblems are blue for whatever reason, or if Starscream has yellow eyes, it has to go through all of that. So, I mean, there's also that factor too. But at the end of the day, again, going back to the beginning of the conversation, statues really is a very specific market. The only complaint that I have about statues is when you know the toy design side of things, which is how much it costs to manufacture products and engineer them and plan them. Statues are like such a slam dunk, because you have to sculpt it and make it look beautiful and everything, and you get the specific artist behind it. But once that's done, it is a mold that's bam, bam, and then it's hand painted in a Chinese factory. You know what I mean?
Must
And then
how Sophobi's made.
Yeah, well, Sophobi's is even cheaper than that. You know, that's a no paint required. Actually, I have a few of them near me here too, which what people would call decoys today, and muscles, and a monster's in my pocket. But you know, the point is that like they're so easy to manufacture, and what blows my mind is you'll have, like, let's say a Masterpiece Transformer that's like 1 million parts, amazingly painted. Like, let me use a good example: Masterpiece Beast Wars Dinobot, like $300 item, a marvel of engineering, tons of paint on it, tons of parts, light up stuff, all kinds of craziness, assembly in a factory, like so many levels of that. And then you have a Sideshow collectible statue that's one molded piece, hand painted, I'll give them that, but one molded piece, and they ask like $900 to $1,000. What the hell? You know, like it doesn't even make sense from a manufacturing cost standpoint. And I think because, again, this goes back to what I was saying before, statues are not really aimed at hardcore collectors. They're aimed at more of a casual fan that has a fat wallet. Going back to my friend, comic book collector, doesn't really engage in the 3D space of collecting, but he wants a really nice Rogue figure. He wants a really nice Hellboy statue. He wants a really nice this. And that's where that falls into that, where statues kind of fills that void for them, and they don't know any better that maybe get a Hot Toys, maybe get a really good Marvel Legends collection going. They're not in that world, and they just get attracted to those statues because they are good looking. Don't get me wrong, but they're not articulated. Sometimes they have like a swappable head on them, maybe, but in general, it's a tough sell. I could go on forever about statues.
Yeah.
It's that when that gets into like the design and cost aspect of it, that's where I always go, meh.
Right.
That's why I could see Big Bad Toy Store. Every statue I ever owned of Transformers was because Big Bad Toy Store was clearing them out at $15 a pop after trying to sell them for $200. because they're expensive, they're fragile, they take space, and they cost nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing.
like, I think the biggest thing with this new statue thing they designed with this AI stuff, where they basically took an AI model and turned it into a real piece by basically taking the last frame of almost every one of these and making it look like this is the thing coming out of the video. When you look at Soundwave, obviously he's wearing, looks like Megatron's arm, which is weird, but he's not, because if you watch the animation, somehow his gun kind of just morphs onto his shoulder. It's such a weird thing. AI art is what AI art is. To me, it's still a tool, much like
Well,
Cyborg
when
was
you
talking
get
about
into,
earlier. I
especially when
personally
you
think
get
it's just a
into
tool.
when you get into manufacturing using AI art, you also get into this huge dicey area of ownership, because then you end up in this place where it's like, okay, we made a figurine based on Soundwave using AI. Now the problem is it's like, well, which AI did they use? And this AI that they used, where were they farming this material? And was this farmed material even licensed, like, legally for this company? Because again, as someone who's worked with licensors, if you license the Transformers brand, you're expected to make your own stuff without copying someone else's. If you, like, let's say you're the Transformers TCG and you license the Transformer brand, and then you start using screen caps of the Sunbow G1 cartoon on your trading cards, you got to pay those guys.
Mhm.
That has nothing to do with Hasbro. You got to pay those guys to have the license and the rights to use those cartoon images, whatever company that is, Sunbow Entertainment, Marvel Productions back in the 80s. So it's something where is this AI trained, and where is it stealing its material from in order for this company to even be allowed to use this? It gets into that hairy area, and this is where AI is going to have a lot of problems in the future, is ownership, because AI has to be trained on something. And what is that thing that they're training on? Yeah, you could have Google go, well, when you signed up for a Facebook account, blah, 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 you sacrificed your ownership of your face and everything you post on it. I get that, but you're not going to be able to say that to Universal Studios. You're not going to be able to say that to Disney if you're training your AI using their material. And if all of a sudden they design a Soundwave figure and it uses AI material from a Disney movie, there's going to be, at some point, that's going to happen. And then there's going to be the discussion of ownership of where this AI is trained, and that's going to hurt those companies terribly, terribly. Imagine you're using ChatGTP to write a script, and then all of a sudden that AI starts aping lines and dialogue from a very famous movie without the person knowing it. And then sooner or later, they're going to put two and two together and go, oh, well, the ChatGTP that was used was mining all this material from, I don't know, let's say Golden Harvest Productions, which was a smaller indie studio in the 90s that did like Mortal Kombat and the Bruce Lee movie. Like, oh, they're harvesting from this old movie studio scripts and stuff, and they didn't know. So it gets really dicey with that. And the Soundwave statue is just another example of this stuff gets weird. It gets really weird. And what bothers me is lazy people are in charge of this. These aren't talented individuals. These aren't people who are writers. These aren't people who are artists. These aren't people who are sculptors. These aren't even people who are software engineers. These are people that were hired in a company, and then through their infinite laziness and the old saying, fake it till you make it, they went into a prompt and said, here you go. Here's something I created in 5 minutes, while they spent the rest of their day watching streaming shows and claiming that they're doing their job.
Yeah.
Hasbro's guilty of this. They've done that too. They've used ChatGTP to write the bios on the back of their Studio Series figures, and they messed up. They messed up big time because they slipped up and someone started noticing, like they're just like phoning in these bios because here's a G1 Jazz Studio Series second release, and it has the bio for Movie Jazz. That's kind of weird. And then what happened with the Soundwave? They did Studio Series 86 Soundwave, and the still image that they used on the back of the packaging, they just used AI to generate a still image. And what did they use? A thumbnail from a YouTube video, and you could still see the YouTube timeline on the bottom of the image. It's, oh, dude, look it up right now. Type back of the box Studio Series 86 liter class Soundwave and look at the still image. It literally has the YouTube timeline, like, you know, when you're trying to look at the time in the movie. It's literally at the bottom of it. They didn't even again, very lazy people hired at these Fortune 500 companies. They come straight out of college and they go, "Oh yeah, I love the trans bots. They're my favorite of the Marvel universe." Like they don't know, and they're hired by these companies, and they hope to make a couple bucks and pad their little resume as they move on to hopefully Google, Microsoft, or something bigger later on. I've seen it many times before. These are tourists in the industry. They're just there to make their money and get out. And it is what it is. It is what it is, unfortunately. It's kind of the name of the game. And AI, unfortunately, that genie's out of the bottle. And there's a lot of people that I don't want to name names that I've worked with on a licensing standpoint that these are older guys too. They constantly ask me, "What's your take on AI?" as if they want my blessing to them, because they want to use that, because these guys that I'm talking to, they're not talented individuals.
It's kind of
They just want to be able.
But it's under
Sorry?
all this. It's kind of hard to see, but it's under all the kanji. But you can see it like right down in here. Like if you really
I
look.
can't.
It's
I
hard
can't
to
see anything.
But yeah,
I can't see it.
No, it's not this one. Hold on. It's he was talking about the Studio Series 86 one.
Mhm.
Okay, so it isn't this one. Well, it looks like
Studio Series 86 liter class Soundwave, the Japanese, the G1 movie one. On the back of the box, the image that was used.
The new
Yeah,
one
the brand new one that just like came out.
was revealed.
Yep. Find a back of the box image. Zoom in on that puppy and prepare to be flabbergasted.
Yeah, I remembered seeing that. I'm trying to find the.
Oh yeah, I can see it. It says
we go.
play.
Yeah.
Oh,
Amazing, eh?
Oh, wow.
Real hard work there. Congratulations. Fire that effort. Good Lord.
It's right
And it's
here,
the same thing.
literally right here, where I
You know?
got my cursor. You can see it.
These people get paid easily over $100K a year to work in these Fortune 500 companies. And sometimes some of these guys, they're literally, they hide in the office. And then when they get a gig, they act like it took them like all day to work on it. And then they just, "Hey, ChatGTP, could you generate an image of me of Generation 1 Soundwave?" Literally uses the thumbnail of a YouTube video.
Jesus, that's
Unbelievable. These people should be put in the street and shot. I'm not even joking. It's so disgusting, because and then these companies go like, "I don't know what happened. Like, we hired the best of the best." It's like, no, you didn't. It's insane sometimes. It really is.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like when it comes to this thing, like this is going to kind of transition off of just statue AI stuff. This is something that kind of, okay, I understand where they're coming from with this reveal of this toy set, but I also personally think it's the laziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Let's not mention how much they're asking for it,
Oh yeah,
which is, again, what the F, it's almost money laundering. There's something going on there. All of this AI stuff, a lot of this stuff, there's an extra layer to it of, you have individuals that I call bad players in the game, meaning there's people in the ice rink that are talented individuals that are good hockey players. And then once in a while, there's some goons in there that they're just there to get a paycheck and cause trouble. And in this case, these are people that are just there to make a buck and disappear. Just like when crypto really started to pick up and people were like pumping something and dumping stuff, when what was it called, their NFTs became a thing.
Still doing that, brother. They're still doing it.
I mean, geez, let me, it became a joke where, like, here's the Transformer Swag Podcast NFT if you want to buy it. Like, it became a joke because I was just like, the fact that people were paying exuberant amounts of money for practically what was a JPEG, and it was just, but again, it was that time where it's like, if you're a wheeler and dealer, if you're a guy that's looking to make a lot of money and not worry about the morals and not worry about your name, if these are a lot of people that if you told them, "Hey man, you can make $1 million, only $1 million, not 2 million, not $1 billion, you can make $1 million, but for the rest of human history, you're going to be seen as a shitbag," and they're cool with it. There's so many people that are just cool with that. They don't mind getting that kind of reputation and dying that way. And there's so many people that were willing to, like, get crypto, pump it up, tell all their friends and family, hey, this is the thing. And then when they pump it up and everyone buys it, bail out and maybe, oh, hey man, I made 20 grand and I ruined every family relation ever, or do the same thing with NFTs. There's so many bad players in the game. And it's the same thing with the toy world. You have people that look at the toy world and then they go, hey, there's a lot of people here that we could take advantage of because they have a lot of undiagnosed ADHD, or they have a lot of ADD, or it's just because our hobby has a lot of FOMO and has a lot of like, oh my God, I don't want to miss out on this thing or something. And they try to slide into that, try to create something that's hype, sell it to the masses, make some money, and then disappear and then bounce and then hey, if they made 50 grand, which you can't even live off of, but in their mind, if they made 50 grand, they feel like they've done something. And I've seen way too many times those people come into this world. It's the same thing what happened with Pokemon with their TCG and what was going on with the trading cards and all the insanity of individuals that are just trying to get in on that. Look what's happening with Labubu. Like, I literally came from San Diego Comic-Con not too long ago, and I walked that dealer room and I saw all these faces that I didn't see the year before that were just there to make money from Labubu and then get the F out. They don't care about Labubu. They don't care about San Diego Comic-Con. They don't care about plushies or action figures. They're just there to make money and then get the F out. They have no passion for it. They don't care about it. And there's so many people that are, as this hobby grows and grows and grows. And what I mean this hobby, I mean pop culture as a whole, all this stuff that we were mocked for being fans of. And now it's the hippest thing ever. And now it's become corporate. And now there's a way to make money from it. My man, there's going to be so many people that are going to come out of nowhere trying to take advantage of us. And it's our job for when this kind of shit happens, like that sound wave, part of me doesn't even want to report it, because I always feel if you don't even give it any press, it just kind of dies a slow death. And that sometimes is the best way to kill it, is just like, don't even let it get any attention. You know?
mean, yeah, I can agree with you with that, Proto Man, when it comes to how fast things spread. We live in a world right now that, you know, I've always called it the rodeo world. Yeah, between 8 seconds of fame, you're a rodeo rider nowadays, literally. That's what TikTok is.
I agree with that.
All that. And some people don't like that I say that, but it is the truth. But I did want to move on to the next thing we have other than statues and AI. This is personally something that I think it's an interesting concept, but I really don't like how they're doing this, because this is something I think they really could have done more with. But what I'm going to refer to, and I'll end up having a screen share up for it, I'm talking about that 3-pack of Devastation Prime. This is literally the same mold squeezed out in 3 different colors with some cell shading thrown on one. I understand what it represents, and I don't know if Brett and all you guys know what this is supposed to be. But the gray one's supposed to be a gray prototype. And then the one after that has some color is what would be a test shot, color shot.
EP1 test shot. Yep.
Yes. And then the very last one will be the finished product. I personally think this is not cool, because most people wanted whatever this finished version celled shaded prime that's come out of this. That's what everybody wanted on the shelf. Otherwise, that other one would not have sold well. That other one to me would have been like...
That other one didn't sell well.
It didn't. It was a shelf-warming toy.
This is what it should have been on the shelf. This is what... This looks like... If you told me this is Devastation Optimus Prime, well, this looks amazing.
Do you want the inside? Do you want the inside baseball on all of that? So,
sure.
so here's how this went down. So the Devastation Optimus Prime, the one that we got before, okay, that was the individual packed one. That had, if I remember correctly, 16 paint deco hits on it. Now, on average, the average action figure, when it gets a deco hit, let me grab. This is all I got on me right now. I might as well show Tarn. That's a deco hit. That's a deco hit. On average, between 1 cent and 15 cents, depending on how big it is in the factory. So that original one, 16 deco hits. That new one there, the final one, I believe they said 160 deco hits. Okay? So I want you to keep that in mind. So what they did there is they were like, how do we manufacture a figure that's going to have 160 deco hits on it and not raise the cost of the deluxe MSRP. So they manufactured a set here where, now tell me, how many deco hits are on the other two?
Well, one's got 0.
Thank you.
I
So-
think both of them have
so-
zero.
I mean, to be
it's-
honest,
it's-
both of them do.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
The other two have 0. It's an old trick that Mattel used to do with their wrestling figures. What they would do is they go, okay, we're going to have the Ultimate Warrior in this wave, right? Like, let's say it's a wave of 4 wrestlers, right? And the Ultimate Warrior is going to have all the paint on the face and the paint on his trunks and the paint on da-da-da-da-da. So they're like, then we got to make sure in that wave that's going to have the Ultimate Warrior, we're going to have Stone Cold Steve Austin. Do you want to know why? Because Stone Cold is just black trunks, bald head, some deco for the eyes, and that's it. So you balance. Go ahead, Don. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's what I've been saying for years. It's wave balancing.
Mm-hmm.
Because
You
So in
can-
this case, it's not wave balancing; it's box set balancing in a lot of ways.
What's
Like,
the
for
retail
example,
on this
I've
thing
always
anyway?
felt- Yeah.
So the
I've
retail on this is $89.99, and if you consider the new MSRP right now for deluxes, which if I remember correctly is 27, excuse me. And if you
28.
times that by 3, you get to 84. So you're $1 off. So it's something where literally, and then you factor in that extra dollars for the fancy box that opens like this and has the corrugated cardboard and everything. It's them balancing the budget. I'm not saying it's right. I still think it's kind of one of those items that I go like, who is this for really? But I see where the money goes. You know what I mean? Like if I look at how the money moves, I get it. Because there is Transformer items that I feel are out of their manufacturing budget. There is quite a few of them that I've called out throughout the years. That one, I see what they were trying to do. I don't think it's that great. It's not an $89.99 item that speaks to me, but I do understand how they were able to do what they did, per se. And then you can take that conclusion from there.
Yeah, but it also makes people upset that with us paying these higher, I'm even seeing a lot of online e-tailers jumping the price on stuff that came out before these.
Hasbro Pulse did it.
Yes,
Hasbro Pulse went back on their website and increased the MSRP for their Commanders, which came out before the price increase, and their Voyagers. If you want an Ultra Magnus right now, it's at the new Commander MSRP.
Yeah, and they also did that they did that on the GI Joes as well from $24.99, $24.
I imagine so.
But the thing is, they're showing it can be done, but only in a very specific instance where they're willing to spend the money because they're starving the other figures of any paint detail. But we're paying more and we're getting a lower quality figure.
Unfortunately, Don, that's kind of the sad reality of it, though, because
I know.
To use an example, there was a line that Beast Wars had in its later years called the Telemocha line. It was like reissuing old Beast Wars toys and putting
the Tigertron.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Then put a ton of paint on them, But here's the thing: original original Beast Wars Tigatron. MSRP $10 back in 1996. We're not going to use that as an example because we got to factor in inflation. But if you jump forward, we had that Cheetor that came out. Same mold, same sculpt, same everything. That Cheetor, if I remember correctly, was $24.99 the reissue.
Yes.
So when you factor, that's a whole. That's the ripoff. That's a whole other conversation with the basic scale. But that Cheetor, let's use that as a modern basis of cost of plastic, cost of paint, and everything. That Telemocha one, if I remember correctly, was like $50, and that was back then. That was like 2000. I'm looking at mine. I want to say like 2000, 2012, 2013, maybe. Remember, it was one of the older TF cons where I saw it. And it's something where, it had to be $50 because of the amount of paint that was put into it. The deco hits, the deco ops, So it's something where I understand people's frustration with the product, but there's no way that item would have ever been able to exist as an individual deluxe with the MSRP that we have. I think already,
I'd have
personally,
spent $50 on it though.
Well,
and not have to have these two.
then at some point maybe we'll get a premium finish, because that's kind of the modern version of that. There's something called the Takara premium finish line where they'll take some of those sculpts and give them a good deco layout. And I mean, those are about, $80 to $100 in some of those 2-packs,
I mean, what I was going to say is, let's be honest. Hasbro could have gave us this Prime, but I don't know, give us a multi-pack like they've been doing with maybe 4 characters from Devastation, not do these 2 unpainted, and
they
give
can't
like
have the same price point.
Then it wouldn't have, it would have, it wouldn't have been 89.
Higher, but people would actually want that.
No, you know what? That is destined for Ollies. I'm telling you, I'll call it right now. So if they did that, think about it. What would be, if you're talking that Optimus, let's say it's unchanged, so it's that $50 Optimus, and then you put a much more, I guess we'll use the word liberal painted other 3 deluxes. That box set would have been like almost $200. And then you know what happened? It would hit $200. Everyone would have went, and then it would have been in Ollies and then selling for $50. Why? Because I've seen so many crazy box set Marvel Legends stuff that had the similar fate. There was a X-Force one that I think was like, God, that thing was like 170, and now it's at Ollies for like 20.
West Coast Avengers sets.
West Coast Avengers, thank you, Don. That was another one. Like, there was so many of those that, like, yeah, you do these big crazy box items, or any Titan class Transformer, let's get into that, or Commanders in some cases, and then retail just rejects it because they invest in it and then they go, crap, like this, it takes space because it's a box set. It doesn't have, it's not a peg hanger. It's something they have to put low. Retail today, not everyone's made of money. So they get a bunch of these, they get stuck with them. There's the stuff that are in the back of the warehouse because the ones that are on the floor didn't sell. And then they have to sell it at a loss or just breaking even from their distributor cost. And it ends up at Ollie's or New England Coat Factory or Ross or any of these other distribution, closeout, buyout, clearance places. And there's so many of them, and it's becoming a common thing. And no joke, this 3-pack, if it wasn't a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, would have been destined for that too, in my opinion.
That's for sure. That was the question I was going to ask, is instead of this stuff being something that's sent directly to a store, it being an online exclusive thing, to me, I think would market better if you didn't do the 2 that are kind of half painted and give us a full set for Devastation.
Well, it's a Hasbro Pulse. It's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive because it's something that when you do store exclusives, and this is a conversation that I constantly have to mention because people always get this screwed up. Store exclusives are pitched by the actual Hasbro team. It's a partner team that's made specially for store exclusives. Again, this is all told to me directly by Mr. Aaron Archer himself, because his first job he ever had was doing store exclusive toys for Target and Batman Forever. That's how far back this goes. And it's just how it works is Hasbro goes to Walmart and Walmart goes, what do you got for me? That's an exclusive. That's going to get people into our store. And then they like to sell in ideas. And these ideas primarily are always ideas that are usually bizarre because they know that it wouldn't work for base retail, but it could work as a store exclusive. That's why we get Toxitron collection and all these weird things. And the logic is because when they make that agreement with, let's say, Walmart, now Walmart has to buy the stock all up front. Hasbro doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
They have to front the bill.
Every single Toxitron figure, every single piece of stock is now their problem. Hasbro ends up with no leftover inventory. And that's why so many times you see these crazy store exclusives end up at these clearance places. Because then all of a sudden Walmart goes, what the hell am I going to do with all these Speedia 500 collection, whatevers, what was the Diaclone looking skids there?
Yeah, skids, yeah.
You
but also the stuff gets canceled and never makes it to the store, and then it shows up 6 months later at Ross, and we're wondering what the hell happened.
It's a mess with that.
Every time Walmart does an online order, we all say the same thing. I'm going to order it. it'll be canceled, and then I'll walk in the store and get it 2 weeks later, or I'll find it at Ross in 6 months. But I wanted to ask
that's
you something.
That's the problem with the distribution system, is because they have to buy everything up front. Where do you store it? Walmart has probably tons of different warehouse facilities, but what if it's all sitting in the West Coast, and then you're a Midwest guy, or you're an East Coast guy, or you're in Florida, or you're in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I want to ask you a question. We've talked about this a little on RFC. Right now, in the global economy, such as it is,
Yes,
a lot of collectors, we're trying to be understanding to a point where we know Hasbro, Mattel, all these companies have got to worry about the tariffs and the import fees, especially for the U.S. And we're
temporary
trying to understand
problem. Temporary
right,
problem.
It's
a problem.
Still a problem.
My concern is not the tariffs. My concern is when they're not going to be able to use that as an excuse anymore. Meaning,
that's what I'm getting to.
I hate it when companies go, "Oh, we have to do something for XYZ," but then when that problem doesn't exist anymore, they hope that the muscle memory of the consumer has been so tuned to that new MSRP. Let's say deluxes went from $10 to $15, and then it stays that way for 7 years, and then for whatever reason, oil costs just go through the toilet. Like no one, oil costs nothing. Oil is plastic. Plastic is how we make our toys. It's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Our cost of our toys is tied to the cost of oil. That's a reality. So if all of a sudden EVs take off and everyone's driving electric cars, and Saudi Arabia, they could just suck on their oil and that's the end of that, right? Like no one cares about gasoline anymore. Hasbro is going to be like, well, we got people so in tune to getting used to paying $14.99. And here's a fun fact. In Hasbro's entire history of MSRPs and price points for Transformers, they've only lowered the MSRP once. Only once. And that was during Beast Machines. Beast Machines sold so poorly in retail that they literally had a coming to God moment, Hasbro, and they went, man, we can't go into Robots in Disguise with the same basic price point MSRP at the $7.99 price point. So they had to lower it to $6.99. And the best example of that was Beast Machines Obsidian, that green one, RID Obsidian, that cow-colored one, same mold, $6.99. And that only happened once in the 40-plus year history of Transformers. It has never happened since. And the following year, new CEO, Brian Goldner, came in from, at the time, Bandai of America. They had a whole new system set up, and that was that. It never happened since. And then after that, raise, just kept going up, incremental, to the point now that it's just like, I think 2026 is going to be quite interesting to see what happens.
Well, what I was saying is that that's part of the problem, is that we as collectors are caught, like, we know they're trying to meet fluctuating market, trying to give them up to a certain point benefit of the doubt, up to a certain point. But when we see these prices increasing, we're getting less in terms of paint, in terms of hollowness, whatever the case may be. You start to wonder how much of this is legit, or like you said, they're using it as an excuse to raise prices to increase their margins and we're still losing product quality.
100%.
And the fact,
there's a great image that someone posted. It was the history of side swipes, and it was like all the side swipes that we got since, like, I think Universe 2.0, and you just see how, like, they got smaller and the plastic quality and the deco ops were less. Like, and granted, that first side swipe, it's not the prettiest looking figure, but from a manufacturing standpoint, more plastic, more deco, more accessories. And it just shows that, they're trying to make as much as they can with the least that they have now at this point. And it kind of sucks. It just kind of sucks. Like, it's just something that I think we live in a world now where Hasbro's like, look, we always got to post profits. to our investors, and those are their golden cows that they worship as their investors. So they can never go to their investors and go, hey, look, I know that we only lost 1% this year, but we still did well. They always have to post profits. And they will do whatever it takes to do that, even if they have to get rid of, like, if they know that they have to not paint the guns of all the Transformers from this part moving forward, but at least they could post 1% profit, they'll do that, even if it hurts the customer's satisfaction.
There's a video game. I don't do much on video. I like following some of the journalism about video games, but I'm not a gamer anymore, other than the arcade I have behind me. James Sterling, very well-known video game reviewer in the UK, says there's a myth of infinite growth over infinite years, and that they want all of the money all of the time. So even if you made $60 billion this year and you were projected to do $65 billion, it's still seen as a loss, and you start closing studios and firing people. And it's like, you still make it's the myth of infinite growth, which cannot be done. You still made $60 billion. But
Don, I posted on Twitter.
That's the myth.
I think it was like 2 years.
That's the myth.
2 years ago, I posted on Twitter. Someone would have to find it. I posted Hasbro's profit margin chart from, I think it was 1979, when they did, the early stuff, which was like Mr. Potato Head and everything, up until I think it was about 2018. And you look at, like, if you would have looked at like Unicron Trilogy, Armada, or even Beast Wars probably better. Beast Wars was top selling boys brand, and at the same time, like, Kenner was doing really well with Batman. Like, they were doing great with Beast Wars and everything. And you look at how much they were making then, and then you look at Unicron Trilogy, and it was making even more with the Unicron Trilogy. And then you look at Revenge of the Fallen. Oh my goodness, the sales were insane during Revenge of the Fallen. They were like printing money. It was never enough. And then you look, it's just up, 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 up. If they went down to how much they were making during Beast Wars, they would consider closing the whole operation, closing the whole like company, even though back then that was considered success. So it's something. The greed is so crazy now, and I have a tinfoil hat theory that the Tron HasLab is.
God.
Don't even get me started on that piece of junk.
That is. Oh, again, let's get into toy manufacturing cost versus what they're asking. That would make each 3-inch figure $40. The vehicles are 3 pieces of molded plastic. By the way, the front wheel doesn't even move, so it's 1 molded piece of plastic. 3 molded pieces of plastic, 2 deco hits for those 2 vehicles. Those vehicles, at best, $15. So you got 5 3-inch figures, which we know shouldn't be $40 a piece, but that's what it's ending up at this point, which is wild. And then those 2 vehicles and a Temu, LED stand for $260, and that thing's going to crash and burn. But why was it so expensive? Why were they trying to pull that? Because Q4 is coming up, aka when you report to your investors your sales. So they wanted to pad out that Q4, but it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out.
Sometimes the company that I work for, who I won't mention,
that's cool.
I think sometimes would rather lose money and get it back on insurance claims and things such as that, rather than reduce it and sell it to people.
So let me ask you something about your company. That company, did it have people that you think were going to be there for their whole lives?
I didn't think
there you go.
But I've been there over half my life.
So literally, here's the thing. This goes back to what I said at the beginning of this. Hasbro has a lot of tourist employees, meaning they come into that company, they make their money, and then they get out. Now, if you have that kind of mentality, do you care about the longevity of a company, or do you care about the make money now and get the hell out?
No.
That's what's going on. What's going on is you come into that company, you make your money, And then when you get out and that company burns down, at least you can put on your resume, well, when I was there, profits were blah, blah, blah. Did it help the longevity of a company? No. If anything, what they did, which made those maximum profits, burned it out, but they don't care. It's in that moment. Outside of the designers and the marketers at Hasbro, the moment you start going up that food chain, there's very few people in that company that are actually passionate about what they're doing. Like I've talked to so many people. Again, I go to San Diego, and that Wednesday is only business. It's only business. We don't let in the commoners yet. We'll call it that. Like we don't let in the attendees. It's just the business people. And you get to really see through the bullshit who's really passionate about this and who's just there because it's just another weekend in the wacky world of Hasbro.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought that up was because, as I said, I think they would rather make money on the back end with insurance and claims and reporting a loss for whatever coverage you get from that. This Tron thing speaks to me as we built this to fail in order to get more money from.
I can't imagine them building it to fail. I really think they were just really hoping. Number one, they were really like when this was conceived, they were really hoping that this Tron Ares movie would do well. Which I hate to say it. Once again, if you had anyone in that company that had any kind of knowledge of the toy industry, when Tron Legacy came out and Spin Master had the license at the time, the Spin Master Tron Legacy figures went instant clearance. So if you had anyone in that company that knew, toys and knew toy history, knew that the last time Tron had toys on the shelves, it didn't work out well for Spin Master. There was millions of dollars of loss there, both on their die-cast division of their die-cast stuff and their 3 1/4 division of their 3 1/4 stuff, to the point that the last 2 waves of Tron Legacy stuff didn't even make it to normal retail. They had to ship it to Australia and Israel and like different parts of Europe, like that very last wave. Like, trust me, I lived it. I saw it. I knew it. And the moment that this Tron Ares movie came out, it was the same thing where I'm like, look, I want Tron to do well. I kind of like those movies. But when they planned that HasLab, they didn't plan on it to fail because they were, hey, what if that Ares movie was a box office juggernaut? Everyone went to see it and it was incredible. They would feel, well, great, now we have this HasLab ready to go to get on that hype train. Well, and it didn't work out that way.
This is my question, though, because you talk about Tron Legacy. What about the original Tron toys? They weren't popular even when I was a kid. They really weren't.
To be Flair Plastic, like that was also a different era.
Yeah,
I mean
but I'm just saying, was like with all the toys were on the shelf, those were just kind of blended.
That was a very limited line, very very simple manufacturing. Kenner Star Wars, late 70s, and to be fair, the movie didn't do well back then, and the toy line reflects that in its sales at a time when. Yeah, most companies would put out a product and after 3 years they'd move on with their lives. Again, there was no such thing as nostalgia. There was no such thing as big branding and holding on to stuff and holding on to trademarks. They put out a handful of Tron figures just like they put out a handful of Bucky O'Hare figures back in the early 90s.
Right.
You put it out, you hope for the best, and if it doesn't work out, you move on. Oh, let's make Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Let's make Biker Mice from Mars. You keep moving forward. So that's kind of you don't want to look at that era because that era is kind of a hard way to pull from to use any kind of information.
The reason I'm saying that is because of the scale of the figures. The scales.
Okay, the scale, yeah.
Because the people that want that scale, they're going to be the ones that would back something like that from Hasbro. But
the scale choice,
it ain't going to matter.
The scale choice for the HasLab was because Hasbro's trying to, and again, this is all in the marketing. Hasbro's trying to make a new initiative into the 3 3/4 size. This was a big marketing push that they did at New York Comic Con. They're like, we're returning the 3 3/4. And why are they doing that? Costs. It's too expensive to do the 6-inch. They did the 6-inch game for G.I. Joe. They did it for Star Wars. They made the money. Now it's costing them too much money. And the reason why I'm saying it costing them too much money, because you could put out 6-inch figures if people are buying them. But what if you put out 1 or 2, Obi-Wan lines or insert this Disney Plus series and it doesn't do well? And then you end up with a sea of them at Ollie's.
Well,
That costs them.
this reminds me of way back because going back 12-inch Joes. Back when Microman was
Too far back, my man.
Yeah, way back, like back when there was
too far back.
size. Then they decided to knock them down to 3 3/4. I'm kind of seeing a bit of a repeat of that because, like you said,
the 3 and 3/4 choice with GI Joe was a reaction to the current market of, oh wow, here's what's happening with Star Wars. You have to understand, those George Lucas Kenner Star Wars figures sculpted the entire future of the toy industry.
Yes.
If you don't have those 3 3/4 Star Wars 5 point of articulation Kenner figures, you don't have Microman, which is again Micronauts. You then don't have GI Joe, and then you don't have everything else that comes afterwards that then apes off of that scale, because there's a lot of little obscure weird toy lines like what's it called there? What was the one with the family there? Bionic 6, There was a lot that also kind of used that same scale and stuff. But it all starts because of that. And that was very influential, extremely influential, because it showed, oh, you do these smaller Star Wars figures, you could do vehicles, you could do play sets, you could do all this big stuff. Where prior to that Star Wars line, what was the big overcompassing, and I'll use the quote here, action figure before it really even existed properly? It was Mego. You had the Mego stuff. And Mego, which was, I want to say 5 to 6 inch, sometimes 7, depending on the character. Much bigger play sets. Those play sets had to be made out of cardboard. It was more expensive than manufacturers. There was a lot of soft goods on that because they were more of a doll. It had more articulation, thus more articulation points, which means more plastic, which means more assembly. You get into the weeds of that, and Star Wars just like, hey, check this out, and it worked.
Well, I mean,
it worked.
We wanted pocket toys back then, but now for collectors going into 3 3/4 size, to me, it's like when they did the Ghostbusters figures. Those Ghostbusters figures that came out with the O-ring.
Also Kenner.
Yes. If they went that route, like they could do modern Action Masters like that easily.
Well,
and also,
are you saying today? Or are you saying back then?
Today, if they decided to, if they really want to do an actual collector's line for people to really want stuff, not just Action Masters, but you can do stuff like Visionaries, the things that people are like wanting,
I think that right now the toy market is very fragile right now. Like it's getting to a point where you have these two camps. You have people that like us that already have a lot of these characters already. And it's something where you really have to do something to get someone to buy another Prowl again. Like, it's just, if a brand new Prowl came out today, extremely screen accurate, Studio Series 86, whatever, how many people are buying it? It's something where it's like, and at this new MSRP, it's like, oh, and it's like $250 to buy this before taxes, depending on your state. So you get to a point where you just go, like, you know what, I'm going to wait for it to go on sale. And so many other people are doing the same thing, that Hasbro is going to take a hit, and it's going to happen over multiple characters, multiple releases. And this isn't just Transformers. It falls into all their other categories, all their other price points, where GI Joe is literally just keeping its nose above water. I love GI Joe, but I have no idea how that line is still functioning, because one day those 35 to 55-year-old demo is going to check out, and that is that. It's going to be game over, because there is no one under the age of 25 that gives an F about Snake Eyes, Duke, Dusty, Scarlet, Baroness, or anyone like that. Okay. I challenge you to...
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to say this. I am in your demographic. I turned 55 this year.
Totally.
I'll be dead. I'll be dead before all of you. Therefore, I win. Here's the thing. I did not collect GI Joe when I was younger. I had friends that did. I did not. Classified has roped me in with the consistent overall quality, character selection. So whatever whatever Black Magic.
But for you to say character selection implies that those characters did have a meaning to you, even if you didn't collect it as a child.
Well,
there's a nostalgia there. Now let me ask you, Don, how many Friday Night at Freddy's figures do you have? How many Fortnite figures do you have? How many Among Us figures do you have? Now this is all the age 15 to 25 demo I'm talking about now.
Right.
So it did its job because it targets that, again, 35 to 55 demo. Even if you didn't engage with it back then. Look, I didn't have any Silverhawks figures growing up, but some of those Super 7 ones speak to me now, 35 years later, or Cowboys of Moo Mesa or from Nacelle,
I have them on pre-order.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is that a good figure with good quality, it's like if I look at a G.I. Joe Classified versus a Marvel Legends or a Black Series, I actually, despite my complete disdain for Star Wars now, I feel like when I buy a G.I. Joe Classified figure, I'm actually getting my money's worth in overall quality, accessory count, paint, and I feel like I'm getting something solid for my money. Whereas I look at Marvel Legends, it's like there's
you got like one weapon and a Build-A-Figure piece that you don't even need.
Exactly. So they're doing something right as far as putting money into a line because they're not having to pay the license money. But the problem
100%.
is they have other licenses like Visionaries. They wouldn't have to pay anybody. The problem is that's a very limited line. But I'm just saying that
real talk, if they did a Visionaries line, it would not do well. It wouldn't. The thing is that
if the marketing was right.
Well, marketing would imply partnerships with media companies. If Visionaries had a cartoon or a movie, it stands a chance. For Visionaries to stand on its own, no. In the same, and again, I don't hate Visionaries. Witherquick, Cryotech, sure. Cool characters, cool designs. But, I mean, it's the same way how people try to bring back Thundercats, and it just doesn't stick. People try to bring back a lot of these older brands, and they don't hit the landing. It didn't hit the landing back then. Why is it going to hit the landing all of a sudden now? Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, you're absolutely right about that, Proto Man. Like, I know exactly where you're going with this because I brought up this example a few casts back talking about Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy didn't do well in the 90s. The reason being is because the demographic was already too old. No one cares about Dick Tracy nowadays. So,
well, what happened in the 90s?
I think a lot of properties are going to fade and go away, but there's some properties that I personally think that Hasbro's been sitting on. You're like Disney, having this whole vault full of junk and not releasing it to other people so you can do something with the property to keep it alive.
The reality is they rather have a company like, let's say, what's that one that has the mask stuff right now? I'm blanking on them.
Loyal Subjects.
Oh my, they rather have someone like Loyal Subjects come up to them and go, "Hey, you're not doing anything with Gem right now. Do you mind if we do something and foot all of the costs and we'll pay you to do it?" So they rather someone else take the risk, right? So if they want, if someone else, let's say Super 7 comes up to them and goes, "Hey, we want to do Visionaries," and they'll give Hasbro the license. Hasbro will give them the license. They'll pay for it. And then it's their problem. And then they manufacture it and they do that and they have the warehouses and they have to do all that stuff. And then that's it. And then if it does well, hey, all the best. They'll want to renew the license in 4 years. If it doesn't do well, oh well, not our problem, not our plastic, not our this, not our factories, not our workers, not nothing. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And that's the beauty of it, is that it's so much easier for them to have a Funko Pop company like Funko and just go up to them and go, "Hey, I know you haven't done anything with Visionaries, but we'd like to do some Visionary Funko Pops." True story. There's Visionary Funko Pops. And then that keeps the trademark alive for them, because that's all that matters. And then when they do that trademark refresh, what ends up happening? when Funko has to go to Hasbro and go, hey, we want to get a trademark for something. Oh, by the way, remember when we hooked you guys up and we helped you keep the Visionary trademark alive? Could you make sure we get the Transformer license on the cheap? Oh, we got you, Funko. And that's what Funko does. Funko primarily exists for all of these hundreds of thousands of companies to keep their trademarks alive. Oh no, Golden Girls is going to expire for MGM. What do we do? And then here comes Funko Pop going, we'll do you a 3-pack and keep the trademark alive for another 4 years because you can't do DVD box sets anymore. That gets into the whole legalese of trademarks and licensing within that industry. I don't want to get too much into it, but that's what's going on there. So there's when you know what it is when you pull the curtain back from the toy industry and you see how it keeps alive and stuff, all of a sudden, all those decisions start to make a lot more sense. They're not good ideas. They're not fun ideas. And Lord knows as a fan, they're not comfortable ideas, but they are how it stays alive.
Right.
You know?
So
especially the trademarks.
the question I have for everybody else, what do you guys think of that 3-pack for Prime? I mean, do you think it's lazy? Do you think it's a good idea? Would you like to see something else like that done in the future? What is your guys' thoughts on that? I'd like to get that before we decide to wrap here soon.
I think it's lazy. I think it's kind of a slap in the face to show that, well, we know how it's supposed to look, but we gave you the really crappy version because we had to meet a budget restraint. But now you can buy 3 of a very lackluster mold to get the one that you actually want. I think if they had done a Prime Evolution set, maybe not just Devastation, had some other figures in there that were maybe harder to find, or with some new paint jobs, I think they could have gotten something similar across that would have been a lot more appealing. But that mold was never that great to begin with, and now seeing it how it's supposed to look, but only in a $90 3-pack with 2 more. It's a slap in the face. It's very like thumbing the nose at the fans for, yeah, we can do it, but it's going to cost you, and I don't particularly care for it.
Megamus, what would you think of that thing?
The
The 3
idea of showing the progression from a prototype to a production figure is a neat idea. I don't think it has to be a $90 idea, and I don't think that it has to be something to which, if you wanted the final product, that you had to pay $90 in which to get it. So I'm not a fan of it.
So what do you think, Sideburn?
I think I would have rather paid $50 for the final paint, the final, fully decaled, fully tampered version, and just a nicer Devastation theme box that was just a nice collection piece than what this is. I think there's going to be a lot of new Transformers fans, young and they're collecting Transformers fans, that are going to see this and think it's a cool, because you see the gray prototypes, you see the test shots, and you see the final figure. They're going to see the set and maybe think it's cool. I don't know how many of them that exist, but there's going to be some. A lot of us have had our chances at owning prototypes. So I don't know if it hits the same for us, because these aren't real prototypes; these are fake. I also worry that a lot of people are going to buy these. The prototype, the grayscale, and the test shot versions are going to go up on eBay, and then they're going to disseminate all over the place. 10 years from now, someone's going to be selling that test shot Optimus Prime, calling it a legitimate test shot of that Prime, and it's going to just be like a big old, crap storm. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's kind of a weird one. I think I ultimately agree with the sentiment that this would be in a bunch of Rosses and in a couple of months if it wasn't a Hasbro Pulse exclusive.
So, design stuff aside, Proto-Man, what is your thoughts of that set?
I
As
think
a
from the business side of it, Hasbro's job is to take a mold and repaint it as much as possible to get back their costing. They just got 4 different costings out of it now. So they got the original and these 3. So they did that job. I don't, if this item came out last year for a 40th anniversary item, it would have almost kind of made sense too. I don't know what the goal is here. Because like I said, who is this aimed at? Like, here's me, who's Mr. Inside Baseball of the industry. I can almost appreciate it from, yes, it's not a real resin prototype. It's ABS and POM plastic made to emulate gray resin prototype. And it's not a real test shot, even though it has the little test shot, factory markings and stuff on it. I could appreciate the attempt, but it's not really one. And then knowing the inside baseball of how deco hits work, it's kind of, that's how all the deco hits ends up on the last one. But who is this for? That's my question. And going to, I think it was Young who said it. I mean, the Young fans, they don't have credit cards and access to Hasbro Pulse like as if it was something sitting in Walmart and they could just buy it with their own money. So it's something where it's in a weird purgatory of a place of where this belongs. Who is it for? What is it aimed at? Again, the business side of it makes totally sense. Hell, even how much it costs at the end of the day. Like when you break down the costing of it, it makes sense. But is it a good product? I'll see it Ross if it ever gets there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's
I'll buy it for $20.
I'll buy
on the note of the
buy
young,
that for $1. Right?
on the note of the young fans, I was thinking maybe more like the 40-year-old dad who decided he liked Transformers again, right? He's young in that he decided to collect like.
But is he on Hasbro Pulse? Is he on Hasbro?
Yeah,
Pulse?
that is a good question. Like,
it's a weird corner.
We are
of
the
the
ones using Hasbro Pulse, right?
Yeah, it's a corner of the internet that really is rarefied for the hardcore. So again, this goes back to my question: who is this for? Like, how many units of these are being sold that this is considered a success? And I guess primarily because it's kind of a half cheap unit to make anyways. Maybe that's part of the secret, is because it's so affordable to manufacture.
Maybe it's hitting the really hardcore Devastation fans, but Devastation was not a good selling game. It did not sell.
No, it wasn't. Actions speak louder than words. If it sold well, we would have saw sequels. We would have saw product. We would have saw merchandise. We would have saw that license last longer.
Not this long after the fact.
Yeah.
Exactly. This was all an answer to Hasbro doing Gamer Edition when Studio Series started making that segmentation. So that's kind of how that all came to be, because you saw the War for Cybertron stuff, and then they, started going, oh, let's do some Devastation, let's do some this. They were even talking the DS games at one point, which
let's do
they
some
never
Devastation and make the worst Optimus Prime that's existed in the last 10 years.
So if you're really
comes
going
with
to
a
dig into Gamer Edition, why don't we do the Famicom version of Ultra Magnus?
That's too much of a deep cut for the Western market.
That's my point.
Too much of a deep cut for the Western market.
I mean, Hasbro has done some surprising deep cuts in the last 6 years, every now and then, but very rarely. But there has been some stuff I'm like, wow, I didn't think Hasbro would touch that.
All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going to have everybody kind of, say their sign-offs and stuff, and we're going to get out of here. We will end up being here next week, same bat time, same bat channel, because it's what we do. I'm going to go ahead and have Proto Man, since he's our guest here, go ahead and do his, and then we'll have everybody else sign off.
I don't know. I'm just Proto Man. I worked on a little indie comic book called Spider-Man with a guy named Stan Lee many years. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. Just check out Mega Man X on stores right now. The writer for that and the Mega Man brand. Aside from that, that's about it, really. I don't know. Check me out on Twitter at Protoman. And that's all you need to really know.
Yep. And go ahead, Don.
I'm Headmaster Don. I can be found here every Sunday at 7:30 on the Plasticast. I can be found Wednesdays at 8 p.m. tfradio.net, Ready Free Cybertron, the internet's oldest Transformers podcast, starting in 1999. I wasn't there at the beginning. Yeah. I started about 2012.
One of the first podcasts ever.
The first podcast ever. Originally on
the
original podcast on tape. Yeah. I can
People
be
don't
found
realize
on
that.
Twitter. Yeah. I can be found on Twitter at HMRC, the number 4 EVR. I can be found on Blue Sky at HMRC, the number 4 EVR.bluesky.social.
Sideburn.
You find me here. You can't find me anywhere else.
Mr. Incognito.
Exclusive.
And Megamus.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Well, we're going to see you guys later. We're going to sign off and see you around.
Take care, all.